How's it going, viewers? I hope you're doing well.
Alright, so this is a story of a time I was in Looney Jail in Florida.
Looney Jail?
Yeah, you know, the mental places. It's just jail for the crazies.
I guess. So, what got you in there, and for how long?
I guess it was my own doing, but I was going through a crazy episode, so I probably belonged in there. I can't say the same for one of my roommates in there.
So, what happened? And we'll get to that roommate part.
I think it was in January 2019, and I was attempting to kill off my conscious and basically start a new one in the same body.
How would you even attempt that?
Well, my plan was to try to choke or suffocate, so I recruited my roommate in the apartment I was staying in at that time to help me achieve this wild thing.
How was he supposed to help you with that?
The idea was that I was going to choke on some food, and when I pass out, then my roommate, Aziz, would perform the Heimlich and save my body after my conscience was gone.
What was the point of this experiment?
I guess I was trying to start new, but in the same body.
That sounds stupid, but also like it has solid potential. Did it work the way you expected?
Absolutely not. The whole time it was going on was insane from my point of view. I can only imagine what it was like to see it from the outside.
So, what happened after the choking didn't work?
After I ended up just eating my food in the cafeteria, my roommate and I just went back to our apartment. And within a few minutes, one of the office women came knocking on our window, yelling and asking if I was okay, and also that they're going to Baker Act or 301 me.
Ah, shit. It was getting kind of serious then.
I guess. For me, it was starting to get annoying. Before the cops got there, I tried to call my dad, and that didn't help much. But the weird thing was that I was hearing an echo of myself as I spoke, so everything started to feel jumbled, like what I was saying and hearing and trying to get out. And it wasn't even like I was on the phone with him and his wife anymore.
What happened after that phone call?
Directly after the call, there was a loud knock at the door, and then cops announcing themselves.
They got there pretty quick. What happened when you opened the door?
As soon as I opened the door, there was an officer with his gun drawn standing in the doorway of what led into where my door was. Behind him were two more cops without their guns drawn, just waiting.
That sounds intense. What did you do then?
Well, my first thought when I opened the door and saw that was, well, this is it. And then I took off in a sprint through them, and one of the cops just tackled me.
That takes some training.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I always just wondered what would they have done if I wasn't so white.
There's so much evidence of what would have happened. Anything interesting happen after the tackle?
During the tackle, as I was rolling on the ground from my back to my stomach, my hand swung and hit him in the face, and when my backhand connected to his cheek, another thought ran through my head that said, "Oh shit, this is real." And then I was on my stomach, being handcuffed.
Sounds intense. How did that go after the handcuffs?
I was totally out of my mind, so when they handcuffed me and told me to stand up, they instructed me to sit Indian style and use my ankles to stand up.
This was after the ankle break and surgery?
Yeah, so when I was sitting there, I told them that I broke my ankle pretty badly and couldn't use it well. All they said was, "Well, that sounds like your problem."
Wow. So they didn't help you up?
Nope, but I found it funny at the time. They watched me stand up and then pushed me toward the squad car that they had out in the parking lot. And an acquaintance of mine recorded a video of me being put in the car.
Well, that's cool. So how did the car ride go?
It was super weird because the whole time the cops in the front are talking, and it's like they had no idea what was happening, where to go, or what they were doing. They kept asking each other if they were going the right way, They weren't talking to me much, but I was listening to the one driving if he was driving correctly. He was asking if he was driving correctly and if they were going the right way. I'm not even sure why he was asking because the other one didn't know anything either.
Where did they end up taking you?
They took me somewhere that looked like a school nurse's office. There was a desk with a big woman at it, and there were about 3 chairs across from her desk against the wall, with 2 of the chairs occupied by 2 guys there.
So it was like an intake thing? Sounds like a jail or a hospital.
Looking back, yeah, at the time, I had no idea what was happening or where I was. But after I got there and got checked in, I was told to go into the bathroom to change. So I went in and switched my boxers to over top of my pants. And when I left the bathroom, it made everybody in the room feel stupid. They all looked at me like super confused.
What gave you the idea to do that?
Well, they told me to change, and I didn't have a lot of clothes to change, so I changed in the way that was most noticeable. They didn't like it, though, so they made me go take my underwear turned overwear off.
What happened after that?
After the check-in, they gave me a styrofoam cup to use for drinking, and we walked back through a door that led back into what looked like a common area, and we turned a corner down a corridor with a lot of rooms. And inside the rooms were just metal beds bolted to the floors with a single tiny thin blue mattress to sleep on. They put me in one of those rooms. I laid on the bed just to get off my feet, and then I had to urinate, so I stood up, went to the door of my room, which had a window on it, and I started banging on it, yelling to the people that I needed to use a toilet.
Did they help you out?
No way. I got their attention, and some female guard walked up to my window and told me to shut up and lay on my bed.
They didn't care about your need to pee?
Nope. I told them at least 3 times while I stood at the door, and they kept telling me to lay down and that I wasn't getting out of that room.
What was your solution?
From the bed, someone was watching through the window to make sure I was staying in the bed, and I yelled to her that I had to pee, and she kept telling me to go on the floor, which made no sense to me because somebody had to clean it up at some point. But I ignored her anyway, and I said, I have to use the toilet. If you don't let me out of here, then I'm just gonna drink it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, she stood there and didn't believe me until after I gulped down what I filled my styrofoam cup with. After it was gone, she started making a lot of noise about how I did exactly what I said I was going to do. Go figure. And they still didn't let me out for a few hours.
What happened after a few hours and they let you out?
I was transported to another place called Aspire that held me for a week, and I missed a couple classes that I was in school for.
How was it in there?
Oh, it was horrible. It was the longest, most stressful time I'd gone without smoking in a long time, and by the 6th or 7th day in there, I woke up with insane chest pains. Like my chest was imploding, and I was having a hard time breathing. I could barely walk. I was in so much pain.
Sounds like some kind of panic attack.
Yeah, that's what doctors and other people have said about it when I'd share it, but the people in Aspire were just looking at me like a problem. They weren't being helpful at all.
How bad did it get, and what did they do?
Before I got to this point, there were, in the first room whenever they wouldn't let me out, they kept calling me Pablo. It was very, very confusing why they were doing that, because they had my name and everything about me, pretty much. It's easier to say what they didn't do. They just sat around and told me to be quiet when I started making noise and telling them I was in pain. Even when I was screaming in pain and couldn't move, they were still being ignorant of me. Some of the other inmates I was with started helping me, and they got yelled at by the staff just for helping me. There was a Korean woman in there that went crazy every time someone tried to touch her in any way. She was helping me walk inside. She had me put my arm around her shoulders, and someone else who was actually one of my roommates had my other arm around his shoulders. And when we got inside, an employee grabbed the Korean woman, and as soon as she started grabbing her, the Korean woman started doing her little freak out thing for just being touched. And it instantly made me wonder what made it okay in her mind that she could help me get inside right then, but as soon as we were inside, the touching was just no more. She didn't want it.
That place sounds horrible. When did you get out?
After that scene, one of the people in there tried telling me my dad was on his way and that I was getting out soon, but I spoke to my dad the night before and told him that he didn't need to show up and I was going to be alright. So that guy tried to lie to me about my dad being on his way.
What was he trying to do by saying that?
I can't come up with any idea why he would do that, but he wouldn't listen when I said I recently talked to him and he wasn't coming.
So when did you get out?
I think I got out the next morning. It was a Tuesday morning, if I remember correctly. My phone had been in a safe behind their front desk, and it thankfully wasn't dead. So I was able to get an Uber back to my apartment complex and also text and call who cared that I was out and on the way home.
Who were these people you met inside?
So there were two other people in the room I was put in. One of the guys, I ended up making a song with him after we both got out, and the other roommate was a Dominican guy who had been in there so long that he doesn't even remember why or what for. He said they gave him so many drugs, he can't remember what even brought him in there. He didn't even give me a name of himself. So I just know him as my Dominican roommate.
What about the other people in there? Any other characters?
Oh, for sure. There was some dude in there that claimed he was God. And he even tried to help me cheat in Uno by trying to sneak me a blue reverse card under the table. And then, when I didn't accept it, he told the table how he tried to help me and I was honorable for not accepting the card.
Home for the delusionals.
Jail for the mentals. After I got out and made it back to my apartment complex, got back inside, I noticed that the police ended up taking my grinder again, which was like the second or third one that I lost down there to the police. But they left the cartridges I had, so I had at least something to smoke when I got out and didn't have to continue dealing with the chest pain. That was one of the worst mornings, I think.
I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment, let me know, follow me, subscribe, do what you will, but please spread peace, love, and positivity any and everywhere you go. I'm out.